Gas Station Business 101 podcast. I'm your host, Shabir Hussain, and this is episode number 13.
Welcome to the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast, where you can learn all the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money. This podcast is brought to you by the good folks at CSB Academy Publishing Company. And now, here is your host, Shabir Hussain.
Hello. Again, welcome to episode number 13 of Gas Station Business 101 podcast. I have decided to do another episode on that $1,000 savings a month. Well, so far, the last two episodes have been the most downloaded episodes since I've started doing this podcast. So it looks to me the need for this type of episodes or this type of content is very high in demand. I have received a lot of emails and a few thank yous, and surely I greatly appreciate that. So I have decided I would do another episode from a different angle that I usually practice in my business, but I didn't think I would do that episode so soon. But since the demand has been very high and the content has been welcomed all around our listeners, I have decided to do, it's not a third series, a third part of the last two episodes. It's a new one. And I am taking a different angle and approach. And you will see, once we get into it, you will see it's a different angle. But again, the theme or the idea behind this episode is how you can make an extra $1,000 profit to keep for yourself without increasing your sales. Now, first 5 series episodes that I have done on marketing, remember the 6 P's of marketing? Those episodes were all targeted towards how to increase your sales, how to market your store, and how to establish yourself as the leader in your area. And then, so once you've done all that, I'm sure you can establish yourself as a solid business owner. That's the goal of marketing. Marketing isn't something you don't get a result overnight, but it establishes you for the long haul. And that is my goal, to have ourselves established in a market for the long haul, so we can earn the trust of customers and provide them with good product, good service, and a clean environment, well-lit facility. And I think we've touched on all of that. But then I have done 2 episodes where you can make some operational changes, and not only operational changes, but some of the things that we don't notice as often. For example, theft. My last episode was all about theft, and the previous one before that episode was all about how to make a few operational changes, the way you operate your business, and save $1,000. And I think, again, I brought up an example of one of our store that saved $1,700 a month. So if you have taken any of these advice and tried in your business, and as I said in previous episode, even if your success rate is at 50%, you would still see significant savings. That is my goal. Since, as I said in very beginning of this podcast, I believe that was episode number 1, that in my 20 years of business, I've seen profit margin go down drastically and operational expenses have gone up tremendously. From your insurance to your power bill to your water bill, your employee cost, everything has gone up. And over the years, profit margin has declined because we're competing with more and more people, and there are some bigger companies that come in very strong in our market, and lowball prices and gas prices and fuel prices and cigarette and beer, and we ended up lowering our prices. So again, as I said at the beginning of the very first episode, that it's a two-way sword. It cuts both ways. So what our goal is to figure out the tricks and the tips how we can increase profit, how we can increase sales. Of course, the ideal thing would be to increase sales, and that would automatically increase profit. But again, sometimes in a crowded market, it is very hard to increase sales overnight. It takes time. And again, if you heard my series of marketing episodes, it tells you that marketing success doesn't happen overnight. It's a long-term goal. And again, we have to go through that goal and achieve it, or try to achieve as much as we can. But for the short term, we can make some changes like we did in episode 11 and 12. And I'm sure you've seen, I've told you how I saved money, and I'm sure if you try, you will save some money as well. Now, today, I'm taking a different angle, which is how to make an extra $1,000 without having your sales go up. Let's say your sales, again, I'm going to bring up that benchmark sales, which is $80,000 a month. That's where we base our calculation on, for the argument's sakes. That way, you can put things in perspective as far as how we're calculating, what we're calculating, and how we're coming up with numbers that we are. So again, based on $80,000 sales, I'm going to show you how in about 2 months, you can make an extra $1,000 and put it in your pocket and go home happy. Sounds good? Stay with me. Let's dive in. In this episode, I want to discuss how we can all save, as I said, again, $1,000 by focusing and tweaking some of your pricing strategies. See, told you it's going to be different. It's not how you can change your light bulb and save money, or how you can increase your sales by running promotion. It is about tweaking your pricing strategy. If you remember one of the episodes I did only about pricing and how to price right and be competitive, this is a different angle on the same topic. I'm taking a different approach on pricing strategy. If you recall, we talked about how you have to be competitive on your fuel prices, on your cigarette prices, and your beer prices. These are very essential. People are very price conscious when it comes to these 3 items or these 3 categories. First, let's do a breakdown on your in-store merchandise sales. And I know I have done it in previous episodes, but let's do it right here once again. So your monthly sales are right at 80,000. And the reason I take the number 80,000 because it is most likely the best average sales on a typical gas station and C-stores. But some of you listeners out there may have a store that is doing $150,000 a month or more. Or some of you may have stores that are doing $40,000 to $50,000 a month. But I'm taking an average, which is 80,000. And that way, all the calculations that we will be doing are going to be based on that number. The people that are selling or doing $150,000 worth of sales a month, I'm sure you're happy, you're delighted, and I'm happy for you. But for the people that are doing $40,000, $50,000 monthly sales, I'm sure you're struggling and your back is pretty much against the wall. So if there is something you can do to improve the profit, I know you're trying to improve your sales, but if you can improve your profit and make a little bit of extra money with that same sales, I think you should implement some of these things and see if you can make few $100 extra a month, maybe $1,000 extra a month, depending on how well you implement this. Now, before we jump into the topic, I think we need to talk about break-even points, because every store has a break-even point, and the profit I'm talking about today depends on how well above you go to that break-even point. And I believe I touched on it previously in one of the episodes, but essentially break-even points are where you take all your expenses, your fixed and variables, and add them all up, and then you take your sales. Let's say you add up all your expenses, and it is, let's make a round figure, it is $10,000 a month. Even though I know most stores have altogether the operating expenses are not $10,000, it's much more than that. But let's, for argument's sake, say it is $10,000. Now, if your store, I'm sure you know how to figure out profit margin of your store. If not, we'll touch on that in another episode. But let's say your monthly profit from sales are right at $10,000. That means you're at a break-even point because your expenses and your income pretty much washes out. That means you're not making any profit. Whatever money you're making out of your sales is going directly to your operating cost. Now, let's say you're reaching your break-even point at $30,000 sales a month. And that is your sales and you're breaking even. You may be getting paid for hourly wages that you're working, and you're factoring that into your expenses, and that is fine. It is all still a break-even point, means you're not making anything. If you're working at another store for another person or another company, you'd be getting that wage. So essentially, when you're working behind the counter in your store, you're just getting paid for the wages that you're working. You could have gotten paid somewhere else. So that is not your profit. Don't think of it as your profit. It's your wage. Profit is when you pay everything and all the expenses, even your salary or your wages, and then whatever money is left, that is your profit. So for a store that's breaking even at $30,000 sales, for that store to be profitable, they have to increase their sales, right? So if that store does $50,000 a month, very next month, that $20,000 extra sales, whatever profit margin there is for that store, that is going to be their profit for that month. So let's say average store does 25% profit margin across the board. So for that extra $20,000 sales, it will be $5,000 net profit for that store for that month. Previous month, they broke even because they only did $30,000 of the sales. So anything above $30,000 is your profit. Even if you do $1,000 extra above your break-even point, you're making 25% off of that $1,000. Again, I simplified it, I know, but once your sale starts going up, there are a couple of things that go up slightly. For example, you may have to employ one extra person, or you may have to keep your store open longer, or you may have to run a couple of more freezers. Whatever it is, you may see a couple of your utility bills going up a little higher because you're increasing sales. So some of the cost goes up. But since they're somewhat negligible, I'm not going to talk about those. Only thing I'm discussing here is anything you do above your break-even point is your profit. Now, it is hard to increase sales, as I said. So let's say you're at a break-even point. How can you still make a little bit of money being at the break-even point? And the way I'm suggesting here is by tweaking some of your pricing strategy. So listen carefully how I have done it in many of my stores, and I think you can try it from tomorrow and start seeing result in about 2 months. Let's get back to the topic again before I get sidetracked by my own thoughts, and I'm sorry about that. But first, let's break down the monthly sales for a typical gas station. Like I said, again, based on $80,000 sales, your merchandise sales most likely looks similar to this. And again, this is just an example. And your store may have higher or lower depending on where you are. But let's say cigarette sales are $24,000 a month, or 30% of your $80,000 sales. Beer and wine is about $16,000 or 16% of your total sales. Soda and drinks, $14,000 or 17.5% of your sales. Candy and snacks, $5,000 or about 6.25% of your sales. Other groceries, $5,000. Again, 6.25% of your total sales. Automotive, $500 or 0.5% of your sales. Deli food, about $12,000 or 15% of your total sales. And lastly, novelty, $3,500 or about 4.5% of your total sales. And again, I've taken these sales from one of our store that I used to have. I realized that this is a popular and standard sales for a store, and this is the breakdown that I had in that store. Now, I just said that there are 3 items we will not touch because people are very price sensitive when it comes to their fuel prices, when it comes to their cigarette or tobacco prices, and most likely their beer prices. If somebody is buying a 6-pack of Budweiser or Miller Lite, every other day, he or she knows how much they pay. And all of a sudden, if you start charging 50 cents extra for that, they'll go somewhere else. So we have decided not to touch those. So let's say out of these categories that I just mentioned, cigarette and beer falls into those categories that we will not touch. So that is 30% and 16% of your sales. Basically, about 46% of your sales of that 80,000 that we will not touch. But the other 54% is what we will be touching and tweaking and trying different things on. First to that categories are soda or drinks. In this category, we already know Coke and Pepsi products have set prices. And when I say set prices, meaning most every C-store in one area or one city usually sell their 20-ounce soda, let's say it's Coke or Pepsi, at a set price. Because Coke and Pepsi, they compete with each other and they usually set a price like $1.29 or $1.39, depending on the market you are in. And every store you go to has its same price because most of these stores are under Coke Pepsi contract. So that price doesn't go up or down, regardless where you go, as long as it is a convenience store or a gas station. But if you look at the $14,000 sales in that category, not all 14,000 sales came from 20-ounce bottle drinks. There are so many other items in this category. For example, milk. For example, juices, for example, water, and so many other brand of products that you buy from your grocery company or from other companies. A lot of people even bring up their Red Bull and all the other energy drinks under drinks and soda. So even though you cannot touch those 20-ounce, the set pricing thing items, but you can always play with the other 80% items in this category. And my suggestion is, if you're selling a springtime bottled water at 89 cents a bottle, I know the cost of that bottle is around 33 to 39 cents, depending on where you buy it from. And we usually make good money on the water that we buy from outside. So just to give you an example, let's say you price that water 20-ounce springtime at 89 cents. Tomorrow, when you go to a store, let's say you price that 99 cents. Do you think people are going to start coming to the counter and say, I don't want to buy this because it's much higher price than what I thought it would be, or I can't afford it? No, people do not notice these things. 89 cents to 99 cents, no. But you go up 10 cents on gas price, rest assured everybody will notice. So our goal is to take these type of items and go up just a notch, 10 cents, sometimes 15 or 20 cents, depending on the item and depending on what price level they're in. And for this, you don't have to go to your neighbors, your other competitors, and see how much they're selling it for. Because when people come to store, as I said, they're price conscious about cigarette, beer, and gasoline. When they're picking up water, they're picking up a bottle of energy drink or a juice, milk, they often do not notice if they're paying 89 cents or 95 cents or 99 cents. So my advice to you would be, take this category, look very closely, see what you carry, and then go up about 10 cents on not every item in this category, but whatever item you think you can without raising any eyebrows, do that. For example, as I said, if you sell Coke and Pepsi waters, which is Dasani and Pepsi's water, I forget the name right now, but if you go up on their water prices, I think people may notice. So I would leave those alone and just try on the brand that you're bringing in yourself from your grocery companies. It could be your Yoo-Hoo drinks, your Fago drinks, your water, your juices. And again, Coke and Pepsi both sell you juices and energy drinks, and they usually do not force you to sell it at a certain price. So it is up to you how much you want to sell a can of Monster for or Red Bull for. So my suggestion is, take it slow, but go up about a 10 cents, about a dime in some of these items and see how people react. I guarantee you, if you do not go 10 cents up on every item in a category, nobody will notice. Take a look at your dairy section. If you sell pint milk for, let's say, $1.29, then next day you make it $1.35 or $1.39. I don't think too many people will blink their eyes and say, I can afford it today. No, that's most likely will not happen. But again, people are conscious about gallon milk. They always talk about how cheaper or how expensive gallon milk is. So if you carry gallon milk, don't go up on it. Go up on the pint, go up on, like I said, your water, your juices, and some of your other off-brand drinks that you carry. And you can safely go on a 99 cents drink or an 89 cents, you can safely go 10 cents. Now, some of the Red Bull can cost $1.99, and you can again go $2.09 instead of going $2.19. So when you go up 10 cents on a 99 cents drink, you're increasing the profit margin by 10%, right? On a dollar, you're going up 10 cents. So it's 10%. But again, when you're going up 10 cents on a $2 item, you're only going up by 5%. So your goal is not to keep a good percentage. Your goal is to go up on products that you think can be justified. Means it's not going to be noticed by anybody. If you keep up the margin and you say, no, I just want to go up by 10%, then what you're doing is on a $2 product, you're going to $2.19 from $1.99 to $2.19. And some people may notice that. But if you go up by 10 cents, then it's not, it's a dime, and a lot of people don't even worry about that. So don't worry about your percentage. Worry about how it looks and how people will react. So some items you can only go up 5 cents, go 5 cents. You don't have to go up dime. You can go to a nickel. As long as you're doing a little bit of increase. And again, do not go on every item in one category. Go on selective items in those categories that you think that are going to be gone unnoticed. So let's say out of that $14,000 soda and drink sales, you did not touch 30% of the product. 30% of the product you did not touch at all. You did not go up even a penny on those. Those 20-ounce sodas and Coke and Pepsi, the gallon milk and whatnot, you did not touch those at all. But the other 70% of that 14,000, you did go up some. Now, if you go up again 10 cents on a 99 cents, that's 10%, and vice versa. Like I said, on a $2, it's 5%, $2 item. So if you are trying to stay under the radar, like I said, and hike your price by a notch, in some items, you can go even nickel and be okay with it. So once, let's say safely that you have gone up only 5% on that other 70% of that product. So let's do the math here. I will use some round off figures so we don't have to get into the decimal too much. So 70% of 14,000 is a little less than 10,000, but let's round it off and say it is $10,000. So you were going up 5% on $10,000 of the product, right? So we multiply that by 0.5, and what you get is $500 extra every month just by going up a nickel and a dime here and there. You see, it is very simple. You don't have to touch every product in a category, like I keep saying. Do it in some of the items that you think can go unnoticed. And again, you don't have to go by dime or nickel or a quarter. Naturally, whatever feels right to you, go up to that. Like I said, if it's an 89 cents, go to 99. If it's 99, go to 109. But again, if it's 199, don't go to 219. You can go to 205, 209. And as long as you are going up overall as about 5%, you're going up 10% on some of the items, you're going up 5% on some of the items. So I'm being realistic and I'm being optimistic that it will be 5% increase in your profit margin. It could be higher, but let's calculate right at 5%. That will put $500 extra in your pocket without you increasing any sales whatsoever. Now, let's do the same on candy and gum. Your candy is one of the most profitable items we carry. We make almost 40% margin on candy. But let's say your candy, we have two different prices, right? Everybody has candy, two different prices. Regular size candy bar at some certain price, king size candy bar at a certain price. And then there are a lot of knick-knack candies. Like there are new type of gums that nowadays cost $1.50, $1.79, $1.89. Now, these are the gums that people buy. They're not price conscious. So if your gum, one of those fancy ones that sells the most nowadays, I've noticed, let's say you price it at $169 and you're still making 40% margin. What if you go to $175? Just go up 6 pennies and see if anybody reacts. If not, next month you can go to $179. So gradually, slowly, work your way up. But don't get into the habit of every month changing prices. Don't do that. Do it once, wait 8, 9, 10 months, maybe a year. Then do another small raise on some other categories. So don't keep on going up on candy or drinks every month. You will destroy your business if you do that. But let's do the number once again. As you remember, your candy category sales were $5,000 a month. And let's say you've gone up 10 cents, 5 cents, and all in between. And there are some that you went up even higher, but some of them you didn't even touch. But safely, if we say you've gone up by 5 to 6% on that $5,000 candy sales, then simply multiply 5 times 5 is 25, which is $250 extra profit just from going up a dime or a nickel on some of the candies. Again, you may have gone up 10% on some candies and 5% on some candies. So if you're staying right at the middle, let's say 5 to 6%, I'm going to calculate it at 5, you're still making $250 extra dollars just by tweaking some of your candy prices without raising any eyebrows. Now let's tackle Deli. If your store has a deli, you're blessed. You're blessed. Why? Because this is one category that people do not worry how much you're charging, because everybody's food quality is different. So people cannot say, I had dinner at that other deli for $6.99 and now you're charging me $7.99. No, they don't say that, because every restaurant charges differently because their food quality, portion, everything is different. So in this category, if you have deli in your store, you can tweak prices. But again, don't go crazy, because remember, sandwiches, especially breakfast sandwiches, people are very price conscious when it comes to a egg and cheese biscuit. Mostly people are accustomed to paying $1.69 to $1.79. All of a sudden, if you charge $3.29, you will lose that business. So the way I do it is I do not touch breakfast. Yes, I go up once a year by dime because the cost of doing business and the product, let's say the cheese, the biscuit, and the butter, egg, everything, all these costs rises slowly but surely. So to keep up with that cost, I raise my prices once a year on deli, even on biscuits. But for this event, what you can do is every deli sells a lot of snacks, hot dogs, corn dogs, egg rolls, jalapeno poppers. A lot of these items, people sell them for, let's say, 79 cents to $1.39. If your egg roll is $1.19 and tomorrow you charge $1.29, do you think people will get mad? I seriously doubt it. As long as the quality of the food is good, you can safely go up at 10 cents and be happy with it. Remember, it's the quality of the food and quantity of the food when it comes to gas station deli that matters. But then again, you cannot charge high-end restaurant prices. That is for sure. So you have to stay within the reason, but you can tweak it by 10, 15, 20 cents without, again, raising a lot of questions by customers. So if you have deli, like I said, a typical deli does about $10,000 to $12,000. In this store's case, it was $12,000 deli sales. So again, we're going to do that math. On a $12,000 sales, let's say your barbecue sandwich was $1.79 and you went up by a dime. Then your percentage, the percentage-wise, you're only going up by 3%, 2 to 3%. Because on $1, if you go up a dime, then you're going up 10%. But on a $2 item, if you're going up 10 cents, you're going up only 5%. So there are items, let's say you have a snack deal, 2-piece fried chicken snack, and it's $3.29, you go up to $3.39. So your profit margin, you're lowering it to 2.5 to 3%. So let's say, and then again, you're not touching breakfast and some of the other dinner items, but still, if your sales is at $12,000 and you only go up by 3% by not touching some of the items and going up very modestly on the other items, and you're only increasing your profit margin by merely 3%. That still will bring you $360 a month extra profit without increasing any sales whatsoever. You see, this is what I'm talking about. You can tweak some of these small, minor changes and bring in some extra cash. We're going to touch on the last but the most lucrative one of the categories is Novelty Category. And Novelty Category is unique because not every store carries the same item. You may carry a New York Yankee hat or a baseball cap that nobody else carries. If you sell that at $8.99, people can say, hey, I can go down the road and buy it for $5.99. No. A lot of gas station nowadays sells a lot of different novelties, from electronic cigarettes to health pills to energy pills, to even earrings for female that wants to have watches or earrings that they buy from gas stations. There are so many varieties of things that you can sell under the category novelty. Even lighters, for example. There are a lot of novelty lighters that cost $5, $6, $7 a piece. So in this case, nobody can compare your prices. But again, if you charge outrageous prices, for example, a lighter has LED light in it and it's refillable. Let's say people think it should be $5 to $7, $8, but you charge $19.99. Most likely that is outrageous. So as long as you stay within reason and go up by 50 cents to $1 on some of these $7, $8 item, and if you're some of those other energy pills and all that, if you go up by 50 cents, you're still increasing 10, 12, 13% margin on these novelty items. And nobody would complain because they can compare these prices with somebody else as long as the increase is within $1 range. As I said, if people have an idea, okay, a novelty lighter should cost $5. All of a sudden, at your store, they see it for $20. They thinking, good Lord, that's outrageous. It is outrageous. So don't do that. Go up by $1. And people think, okay, this is a good quality one. And maybe it's worth that $7.99 price. Well, it is. So you're not raising eyebrows. You're not having customers question your employees, hey, why it is so expensive. For example, recently I was on a trip. I lost my phone charger, my iPhone charger. And I know most gas stations, including mine, we sell iPhone chargers at $5 to $7.99 range. I walked into a truck stop and they had an iPhone charger for $20. Needless to say, I did not buy that charger because I did not need it that bad. But again, they lost a sale because they were outrageous. People know a car charger for an iPhone, they can buy it for $5 to $7, $8, max $10, not $20. See, this is a wrong pricing strategy because they're losing sales every day, and they had that charger at a very well-positioned place, means right at the checkout counter. So anything you put around the checkout counter should be at a attractive price with a nice display so people can grab it and they want to grab it. That's the idea. But if you put a wrong price such as $20, you're scaring people. See, I'm even telling you this. That means I was shocked, so I remembered it. Anyway, getting back to the point, if you have a novelty, I'm sure every store carries novelty. And nowadays, that is where most of the convenience store and gas station are focusing on, which is novelty, because that's where they make most of the money. So even though you only sell $3,500 of the novelty a month, if you go up by 10 cents, you're picking up extra $350 each month just by going up 50 cents here, 30 cents here, $1 there. In novelty, as I said, you can go up a little higher. As long as your quality is good, your presentation is good, nobody would say anything. Now, let's calculate what we've made so far. Now, in soda and drinks, that brought us about $500 extra. Then, on the candy department, brought us $250 extra. Deli made us $350. And novelty, finally, just that we spoke about, novelty brought us another $300. So the grand total here is $1,400 so far. And again, we haven't touched some of the other two categories, which is grocery and automotive accessories. And these are the two items you can go up very easily, like motor oil, for example. Every can of motor oil nowadays cost about roughly $3 to $5. If you go up 10 cents, which is only 2 to 3%, nobody would say anything. You can go up, and even though you don't sell much of motor oil, but at the end of the year, you may pick up extra $200, $300, and that is not a bad thing to have. So again, look at your groceries. Nowadays, I know most of the C-stores are declining in grocery sales. So if you don't want to touch those, you don't have to. But whatever I suggested here, if you try some of these, you will see that you're bringing in maybe $500 first month, $700 next month, and $1,400 the third month. The reason is I don't want you to go up on every item tomorrow. Take candy, spend 7 days, go up on that. Month later, go up on some of your drinks. Month later, go up on some of your deli. Or take few items in drinks, few items in grocery, few items in soda, go up at one time. Then wait a little while and then go up. Take 3 months, 2 to 3 months, and raise your prices in these categories. So eventually, on the end of fourth month, you will have $1,400 extra in your pocket if you have $80,000 of the sales. If your sales are lower, your profit will be lower. Let's say you have a $60,000 store sales. Most likely you will clear, if you follow these steps and these categories, most likely you will clear about $1,000 and not $1,400. And that is fine. Anything extra is okay. Nobody's giving you $1 tomorrow or today, just handing you $1. Nobody does that. So if you can tweak some of these things and make, let's say, $900 a month or $1,000 extra a month, isn't that a nice savings? Put that towards your kids' college education or anything, vacation, whatever you want to do. But it is nice to have some extra income sometimes. So try this and see how well it works and how easy it is to do. It's time to answer some emails. I know I did not answer 2 of the emails that I meant to answer last week. Then the time pretty much went over 50 minutes, so I did not get a chance to answer. But again, I will answer those 2 emails today, and both of them are somewhat related, so I'm going to have one answer for both of them. First one came from Jen, and her question was, how often should she do inventory in her store? And the second email came from MS, and this person asked if inventory should be done at cost or retail. Now, since both are inventory related, I will go ahead and answer both of you in one answer. So the answer is, your first one, how often you should do inventory. Depending on what you're trying to achieve, Jen. If you're trying to catch people, if they're stealing from you or not, depending on what inventory you're talking about. If you're talking about a whole store inventory, I do mine once a month, and I have a company that comes and does it, and they charge me roughly around $150 to do the whole store. And again, they count inventory at retail. Inventory usually always is counted at retail and not at cost, because the person counting your inventory is only seeing the price you post on that product or around that product. So they can only count it at retail, not at cost. It's your books that you can take that retail number and bring it down to cost. But that's a different story. So to answer MS question, the question that came from the person named MS, inventory has to be done at retail. How often you should do inventory? You should do it once a month if you're talking about the whole store. And again, if you recall my last episode about theft, I said cigarette, for example. I count every shift. In every shift, cigarette has to be counted, and then it has to be subtracted from your store report that they have, the shift report. It usually says the quantity that this shift sold, and I want my cashier to match and verify and say, okay, if I started off with 800 packs of cigarette, at the end of the shift I only have 700 packs of cigarette, ideally I sold 100 packs, and their shift report should say 100 count. That means nothing got stolen. So I want to make sure I got paid for that missing 100 packs in the cash register. And I mentioned about beer, since I want to keep a close eye on it, I do inventory once a week on beer to see how what I'm buying versus what I'm selling and versus what I have on hand matches with the count that I do every Monday. So in case you want to know how to count beer once a week in details, please email me and I'll help you step by step on how to do that. And I'll remember, if I can remember well, I will make a PDF format cheat sheet as far as how to count beer or cigarettes and all that. Once I get some time, I will get some of these done and hopefully I'll email all of you and you can use that in your business and get benefited from it. Hopefully I was able to answer both of you. And thanks for your question. Now, the book I want to mention today is called The Mindset, The New Psychology of Success by Carol Dweck. And again, it is a bestseller in Amazon with over 1,100 reviews from readers. And it is about how we can learn to fulfill our potential. All of us have a potential that we most likely are not reaching up to. Maybe if we had a tool that can help us reach there, maybe we can get there and be more successful. So read the book and I'm sure you will thank me later. The name of the book again is Mindset. And you will find the link of this book in my show notes when you visit my blog. So anything we spoke about in this episode, if you need to see what it is, you will find it under show note, under episode number 13 when you go to my blog. Once again, I really do appreciate you spending your valuable time listening to me. So I hope I'm providing value to you and for your time that you spend with me. And I appreciate it. Hopefully, I will see you next time with another great episode. And in the meantime, if you have any suggestions or if you like to know anything and you think I should cover it in a podcast, please email me. Thanks once again, and I will see you next week.
This has been the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast with your host, Shabir Hossain. This podcast was brought to you by CSB Academy Publishing Company. Be sure to join us next time as we share with you the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money.